We set one rule. No drugs around our daughter. My Mill broke it, then played the victim so hard, it tore the family apart. Hi, I'm Nate, 28, and I always thought the scariest thing that could happen to my daughter was a playground fall or catching the flu. Turns out, the real danger was the woman we trusted to love her like we did. My mother-in-law, who was high and supervised, and armed with scissors. My wife Lacey and I had just started letting her mom babysit our 2-year-old daughter alone again. It had taken a lot of convincing. See, about a year earlier, Mill had been caught watching our daughter while still coming down from a night of partying, including what she proudly described to my wife as a fun little Coca-Cola night, except she didn't mean soda. That alone would have been bad enough, but that same weekend, we noticed something else. Our daughter's hair, her first haircut, a jagged line across her forehead, barely eyebrow length, microbangs. Lacey lost it. Mill just laughed, said the hair was annoying her, and she didn't think first haircuts were a thing. The rage I saw in Lacey's face that day was unmatched. After that, we decided to give her one last boundary: be sober, always, or never be alone with our child again. Then came my dad's birthday party. Big family thing. Of people, some from work. Mill and Phil showed up, smiling, hugging, acting normal. But Sil pulled Lacey and me aside. She'd just seen Mill and Phil in the kitchen popping something together. Not vitamins, not Tylenol, something you only take when you're not planning to make any smart decisions for the next 8 hours. And guess what? They told everyone in the family not to tell us. That was it. Lacey and I didn't even argue. We went straight to the lawyer the next morning and removed them from our wills as backup guardians. No way in hell were these people getting custody if something happened to us. But the moment we made that change, the gloves came off. And what Mill did next? Honestly, we weren't ready. A week after we quietly changed the will, the phone rang. It was Mill. 3 weeks of silence, no calls. No, how's my granddaughter texts, and now, out of nowhere, can I have her next weekend? My friend's son is having a birthday, and I'd love to bring her. Lacey and I just looked at each other across the dinner table. She didn't even respond. I picked up the phone and told Mill, let us call you back. After dinner, we asked my dad to watch our daughter so we could take the call in peace. We needed to be united and calm. That lasted maybe 30 seconds. Lacey opened with, we're not comfortable with you having her unsupervised. To our surprise, Mill didn't argue. She said she understood. But when Lacey brought up the drug use at Phil's birthday party, that's when the spin cycle started. Oh, we didn't want it broadcast everyone, she said. And it wasn't like we were responsible for her that day, so why tell everyone else specifically not to tell us? I asked. Long pause. Because you judge us, she snapped. And we didn't want the drama. We're adults. It was our house. We can do what we want. That was her logic. If it's her house, then getting high around her granddaughter is fine. If we had a problem, it was our problem because we were uptight and too involved. She even started mocking Lacey's boundaries, saying if she had to avoid everything addictive, guess she should skip her morning coffee too. Saw Lacey's face change. She'd been holding it together for me, but when Mill started weaponizing sarcasm to make her feel crazy, she snapped. What the F is wrong with you? You'd never have let anyone high near your kids when they were 2. But you expect us to just be fine with it? Mill went quiet. Then, in her most smug voice, said, I'm not going to respond to yelling. So Lacey walked out. I stayed. Big mistake. Because that's when Mill pulled out her trump card. Well, if you're so paranoid, I'll just stop paying for the swim classes. And there it was. The leverage. She'd been bragging about helping with those lessons for months. But now, it was a chip she thought she could cash in to buy our silence. Except she didn't realize who she was playing with. I stood up, said thank you for everything, and that from now on, we'd be covering our daughter's expenses ourselves. That she wouldn't be needing to worry about that ever again. And if Mill thought we were bluffing, she was about to find out we weren't bluffing about anything. The next morning, a bank alert pinged on Lacey's phone. Deposit received. $250.0 from Mill. Memo. Swim classes. Lacey didn't hesitate. She hit refund so fast I swear the bank app flinched. Not even an hour later, Mill added us to a group chat with Phil, Lacey, and me. No greeting, no emoji, just, If you're going to be ungrateful, at least have the courtesy to explain yourselves. Ungrateful. That was her favorite word when control started slipping through her fingers. Lacey typed back that we didn't want to accept money from someone who used it to manipulate us. We kept it civil, short, final. Phil didn't say a word in the chat. We knew why he'd already texted the night before, asking to meet for coffee that weekend. Just him. No Mill, no drama. He wanted to clear the air, we agreed. But that same Sunday morning, 2 hours before the meeting, another text came in. A picture of the birthday invitation Mill had originally asked to bring our daughter to. No caption. Just the invite. Guilt bait, plain and simple. Like we were supposed to feel bad that our daughter was missing out on finger painting and juice boxes because we weren't comfortable leaving her with someone who parties on Coca-Cola. Still, we went to meet Phil, and for the first 20 minutes, he acted like nothing had happened. How's work? How's the baby sleeping? You guys tried that new place on 5th yet? We were halfway through breakfast when he suddenly leaned forward and said, "Okay, we need to talk about your mom." Turns out, everything Mill had told him was twisted beyond recognition. She made herself the victim, left out the drug use, lied about the haircut, and said we were cutting her off for no reason. When we told Phil what really happened, his eyes started darting. He looked cornered, like a man realizing he hadn't been told the whole truth. Or any truth. "She's just had a hard life," he started. "She doesn't handle stress well. She's always been a little impulsive." We stayed quiet. Let him talk. He floundered. Then Lacey calmly dropped the bomb. "She told your son not to tell us what you two took that day. By name." His face fell. "She did?" he asked. We nodded. "We told him that this wasn't about one bad decision. It was about a pattern. The lying, the manipulation, the way she twisted our boundaries into insults and made us feel like we were the crazy ones." Phil sighed. For a moment, he looked genuinely regretful. Then he said something that flipped the whole conversation sideways. "Okay, but would you feel better if I was there? Like, if I promised to stay sober and supervise? Then could she still have her sometimes?" We stared at him. He didn't get it. He still didn't get it. Lacey leaned forward slowly, like she was trying not to explode. "Let me ask you something," she said to Phil. "If your daughter had been around someone doing what she did, would you have been okay with that?" Phil opened his mouth, then shut it. His fingers drummed the table. "I mean, I guess not," he finally muttered. "But this is different. It's family." There it was again. The shield. The excuse. Family.as if being related erased accountability. As if blood TIs cancelled out danger. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You think you can control her for a few hours? We've lived with her our entire marriage. She knows how to get around people. You'd step out for 5 minutes and she'd swear it didn't count. We're not putting our daughter in that position." He nodded slowly, but I could see the resistance bubbling under the surface. Like a man trapped between his wife's tantrums and the truth staring him in the face. We tried to end on a civil note. We said they could still see our daughter, but only with us present. In a neutral place. No overnight visits. No unsupervised anything. Ever. He nodded again, slower this time. "Okay, I understand." But the conversation didn't end at that cafe. That night, as we were eating dinner, Phil called again. His voice was weird, slippery. The kind of tone people use when they're trying to sound calm, but are clearly being watched. "You guys mentioned something earlier about Mill and her, sexuality?" he said awkwardly. "Can I ask where you heard that?" Lacey and I exchanged a glance. We had not expected that to come up. We told him honestly it was something his daughter Lacey's sister had mentioned during one of Mill's drunken rants. Something about an old best friend who Mill may or may not have had an affair with. We didn't care. We truly didn't. But now, he was asking, so we told him where the info came from. What he said next made our skin crawl. "Yeah, well, she cheated on me," he muttered. "That woman you mentioned, that was real." We were silent. And then he added, "But I still live with her. I still put up with it. So maybe you two could, figure out a way to deal with your stuff too." There it was. Not even subtle. He wasn't just asking us to let Mill back in. He was telling us to accept her dysfunction the same way he had. Even after everything, the drugs, the haircut, the lying, the manipulation. His logic was, "Well, I live with her mess. Why can't you?" That's when I knew. This wasn't going to end with the calm understanding, because he wasn't offering to help. He was offering us a place on the sinking ship. And we weren't getting on board. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. No calls, no texts. Just a strange calm that neither Lacey nor I trusted. We knew Mill wasn't the type to let things lie. She was regrouping, plotting, and then, as expected, she fired her next shot. It started with another group message. She added herself, Phil, Lacey, and me back into the same chat. We'd already exited. This time, it wasn't about swim lessons or birthday invites. It was about locks. We've changed the locks, the message read. Only your mom and I have keys now. And since we won't be looking after our daughter anymore, you can come pick up her things whenever. Let us know it. Oh, we're sorry. Just cold. Clipped logistics. Like we were strangers picking up lost luggage. And yeah, that stung. Lacey sat staring at the message like it had punched her in the chest. She really thinks she's the one cutting us off, she muttered. We agreed on a pickup time. No drama. Just grab the baby gear they kept at their house and be done with it. But we had no illusions. This was never going to be simple. The night before the pickup, Phil called again. His voice? Off. Slurred. Not quite drunk. But definitely not sober. He said he'd been thinking more about the conversation. That some people in this family were spreading lies. That Lacey's sister never said anything about Mill cheating. That we must have made that part up. Lacey put the phone on speaker. I calmly reminded him he was the one who confirmed the affair just days earlier. Silence on the line. Then muffled voices in the background. We couldn't make out every word, but it was unmistakable Mill was coaching him. Whispering lines. Probably half listening and half loaded. He tried to pivot. Started blaming my parents. What about your mom not getting the COVID vaccine? He asked. Lacey blinked. What does that have to do with anything? I'm just saying, he rambled. You're judging us for choices, but you let your side make questionable decisions too. Your dad drank wine that one time. Lacey looked at me and mouthed. He's deflect. I nodded. Because this was the moment they always defaulted to when cornered. Shift the blame. Twist it. Gaslight. But we weren't buying one. Up the phone and said, this is about Mill putting our daughter in danger. About her lying, using money to manipulate, and crossing every boundary we've set. If you think that's the same as someone drinking wine at dinner or skipping a vaccine, then we have a very different definition of danger. There was another long pause. Then Phil's voice changed. Well, he said coldly, since we've been such a problem for you, maybe it's best we just stay out of your lives completely. I stayed calm. If that's what you choose. Another pause. You know, she's really hurt, he added. You've both made her feel unwelcome. Like she's not even family. I looked at Lacey. Because we hadn't made Mill feel anything. She was just finally being held accountable. And for someone used to being untouchable, accountability felt like exile. The next morning, we drove to their house to collect our daughter's things. We didn't bring her with us. We weren't going to expose her to whatever meltdown might happen. Lacey and I stayed quiet the whole drive. Not angry, just tired. Worn down by months of gaslighting, guilt tripping, and emotional blackmail. Dressed up as family, when we pulled into the driveway, the front door was already cracked open. Classic Mill move, like she wanted to signal, you're welcome, but not really. She didn't greet us. Didn't make eye contact. Just pointed to a pile of boxes by the staircase and muttered. There. I scanned the pile. Swim bag, booster seat, a few toys, but no sign of the personalized baby blanket or the bedtime storybooks. We'd lent them. Where's the rest? Lacey asked flatly. Mill gave a tight-lipped shrug. I packed what I thought was necessary, right? Lacey muttered, kneeling to check the boxes. Funny how all the gifts from you made it into the pile, just not the things that actually belong to our daughter. That got Mill's attention. Are you accusing me of stealing from a 2-year-old now? She snapped. No, I said calmly. We're accusing you of being petty and calculated. You always said you bought that blanket for her, but the tag literally has my mother's handwriting. Phil walked in from the kitchen, holding a mug of coffee and blinking like he'd just woken up. Let's just get through this, okay? He said. But Mill wasn't done. You think I'm dangerous? That's what you're telling people now. You've made me look like some cracked out monster. No one's making you look like anything, Lacey said, standing. You're doing that yourself. And then she lost it. I have been there since day one, Mill shouted, eyes wide. I changed diapers. I stayed up with her when you were sick. I paid for swim. And you treat me like I'm some junkie on the street. Her voice cracked. You're throwing me away like I don't matter. That stopped us both, because for a split second, it was real, raw, not manipulative, just broken. But before we could respond, she ruined it again. You're just like your father, she hissed at Lacey, cold, ungrateful, abandoning the people who love you when it's not convenient anymore. And there it was, the default play. When guilt didn't work, emotional nuclear warfare. Lacey didn't say a word, just picked up the boxes, turned, and walked out the door. I followed, pausing only long enough to say, we never wanted to throw you away. You just made it impossible to keep you close. And as I shut the door behind us, I heard her voice crack again. But this time, it didn't stop me. By the time we got home and unloaded the boxes, Lacey was quiet. Not the angry kind of quiet. Not even the sad kind. Just hollow. She unpacked in silence while our daughter napped upstairs, gently folding blankets and lining up picture books, even the few cheap toys Mill had bothered to include. No bedtime bear. No baby blanket. The soft pink one my mother had knit when we first told her we were expecting gone. I offered to call Mill again, but Lacey shook her head. She'll say she doesn't know where it is. Then 2 months later, she'll post a picture of it in her grandma memory box, like she's the victim. I'm done giving her chances to disappoint us. And then she said the part that wrecked me. I'm so tired of trying to make her love me the way I need her to. I sat next to her on the floor. We didn't talk for a while, just sat there, surrounded by baby toys and broken expectations. That night, we got a text from Phil, a long, rambling apology. Said he hadn't handled things well, and that he just wanted to be able to see his granddaughter again, that he missed us, that he wanted to build a bridge. But the kicker? He ended the message with, maybe you could get some kind of formal agreement from Mill, like a promise she'll be sober 24 hours before seeing the baby. That would be fair, right? Fair.as if sobriety wasn't the bare minimum. As if we were being unreasonable for expecting Mill to not be high around a toddler with a pair of scissors. We didn't reply. The next morning, a new voicemail popped up. Mill, this time. Soft voice, sniffly tone. Trying the sad mom card. She said she'd talked to a therapist, though we knew she hadn't, and that she was ready to start mending things. But then, halfway through the message, the guilt came back. I just don't understand how you can cut out your daughter's grandparents. We love her. We do anything for her. It's you two who are punishing her. And there it was again. The same twisted loop. Not her actions causing distance, us causing pain. That same weaponized guilt she always kept loaded. Safety off. We didn't answer. Later that afternoon, we got a text from Lacey's sister. It was a screenshot. Mill had sent a group message to all of Lacey's siblings, complaining that we'd alienated the family, and that no one could trust her anymore because, apparently we can't keep secrets. That's what it came down to. Not the drugs. Not the betrayal. Not the blatant disregard for our daughter's safety. She was furious that someone had broken her secret. We sent the screenshot to Phil. No commentary. Just 5 minutes later, he called. Apologized again. Said he didn't know she'd sent that message. Said he agreed her behavior was wrong, but that she was going through something. And then he asked the question we'd been dreading. What would it take for you to let her watch your daughter again? I almost laughed. Because what would it take? A clean drug test. Months of consistent, sober behavior. Full accountability. Therapy. A miracle. But even then, the trust was broken. The damage done. We told him the truth. That we weren't making ultimatums. That we didn't need apologies anymore. We needed peace. And if that meant Mill and Phil only saw our daughter on holidays, under supervision, in short doses with no wine and no pills, then so be it. He sighed. Okay, I get it, he said quietly. I'll try to talk to her again. Then, as we were about to hang up, he added, for what it's worth, I really do think you're doing the right thing. Even if she won't admit it. Lacey thanked him, but I could hear it in her voice, the ache of a daughter who never really got the mother she deserved. And now, she was done waiting for one to show up. We never heard back from Mill after that. No apology. No, miss her. Not even a fake holiday card like she used to send every year with someone else's handwriting on the envelope. Just complete radio silence. It was peaceful actually. Our daughter didn't ask about her. She was too young to notice the absence, only aware of the presence of love, which we surrounded her with. My dad started coming by more often. Lacey's stepmom started FaceTiming from overseas every weekend, reading bedtime stories in goofy voices. Real connection, real care, no strings attached. One afternoon, about 2 months later, we finally went to the lawyer and handed over 2 sealed envelopes, letters we'd written, one each, in case the worst ever happened and there was a custody dispute. Lacey's letter was calm, maternal, logical. Mine was just one sentence. If you let them near my daughter, you are failing her the same way they failed us. The lawyer read it, looked up, and said, I hope these never have to be opened. We did too. The rest of the year was quiet, and then, just before our daughter's 3rd birthday, we got a message. Not from Mill, not from Phil, from Mill's best friend. The one we always suspected enabled her. Just wanted you to know, she wrote, that she's been telling people you abandoned her, that she hasn't seen her granddaughter because you got weird about vaccines and parenting. She left out a lot. We just laughed. Because of course, she did. She wasn't telling the truth, she was telling her story. The one where she was the heartbroken grandma, the misunderstood matriarch, the victim of our rules. She never really wanted to be a grandparent. She wanted to feel like one. The difference? Real grandparents show up sober. They earn trust. They respect boundaries. Ours had disqualified themselves, repeatedly, and for once, we didn't question that anymore. We'd stopped waiting for an apology. We'd stopped waiting for change. We'd stopped grieving who they could have been, because the people they were, loud, messy, entitled, had already shown us everything we needed to know. That weekend, our daughter had her birthday party. No drama, just sunshine, a backyard bubble machine, and cake everywhere. Lacey's stepmom flew in. My dad cried during the toast. And our daughter? She climbed into my lap after everyone left, face sticky with frosting, and said, Daddy, I love my family. I held her tight and whispered back, me too, baby. Me too. And I meant it, because we may not have chosen our parents, but we'd chosen our peace.